Welkom bij this HelloID release webinar van de april release. Sorry for the little delay and welcome to the webinar. I had some technical issues, so we're a little bit later than normally. So welcome to this HelloID release webinar of the April release of this year. What I'm going to explain is the new features that are available inside the product. So we released that last Monday. This time it's a little bit different because we have some new features that are in a new license, the governance module license. So they are not in provisioning or service automation, but you have to buy a separate license. And currently you cannot buy this license yet. So we are still in a pilot phase, a beta phase. But I still want to show these features that will be available in a while. Because I think they are really good, and I think it's good that you can track our progress also on that level. And these are features that can really help you to get in control of the company and the permissions, the rights, and the accounts. If you want all these videos and get messages that we are starting, please don't forget to subscribe on our YouTube channel so you will get a notification and hit the bell icon. So then you will get a notification when a webinar or a video is uploaded to our YouTube channel. So you can see all the new stuff and also documentation videos, product releases videos that are normally 1 week before we release the new software versions. So you can know what's upcoming. And of course this webinar, which is after the release, but I will tell you about the new features and a little bit more in detail. And if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat. I will reply on it. I will answer the questions, and I will go back and forth a little bit during the presentation to check up. If you want more information on the governance module, there is some information on the docs.hellod.com site, or you can contact your local supplier and they will explain a little bit more. Are you interested in these features? You can also contact your local supplier and say, okay, I'm interested in the governance module, and maybe you can join the pilot program or the beta if you're interested in these features. So let's start with the functionality. So as normal, I have my HelloID login here, and I'm going to log in as an admin. And the first feature I'm going to show is the first phase of recertification on products for service automation. So what we have here, if I'm going to the admin portal, now you already see recertification in my menu, but it could be that you don't see it if you're in a pilot program, but you have to set the roles. So there are some rights to set, so let's check it here. And if you check rights, you have recertification insight and recertification management. You need to have these roles to manage or see the insights for the recertification. So don't forget them if you are in a pilot program. Or of course, if you have a training portal or any demo portals, you can also request your local supplier to enable this module. So with these features, we have recertification. And what is recertification? Normally, when you request a product as an end user, a manager, or a product owner will approve your request. Or maybe there's a different flow, but in most cases there is a flow. And what we can do with recertification is check over time if the right to get the product is still valid. And we have a couple of ways to do that. And the couple of ways, we call that campaigns. And we have two different kinds. So with this release, we have the system campaign type, and that means these are predefined. So you cannot adjust them, you can just run them, and it will check up your configuration of the products or other things, the assignments of products. There are a couple of things. I will explain it a little bit more later on. And the other one is the user defined types. We don't support that yet, but that will come in the future. And I will explain them, of course, when it is in the software. Also, I'm thinking of doing a webinar when recertification is on another level, a little bit further on the road, and has a lot of features. And then I will do a webinar just slowly, only for the recertification, or another topic that we're going to address later on. So for recertification, we have a campaign for improperly assigned products. And in this release, improperly assigned products means that if you request a product, you can have the option to request a product more than once. But you can also switch back to saying, okay, the product was requestable multiple times, and maybe there are some users that already did it, but I want to make it requestable once. And if we're going to self-service into a product, for example, and we go, let's say, to this product, we can see here that here's the option, multiple requests. And as you can see, I have this now on always, but I can switch it to once. I will do it a little bit later on, and I will explain what will happen with the recertification. But that's an issue, of course, because people could have it multiple times, but now you set it to once. And maybe in the past, people could request multiple licenses of different levels. But now you want to say, okay, in my company, everybody gets one license, and if you don't have it, or if you want a different one, you have to return the previous one and request a new license or something like that. So you can switch. And that's currently what we check on the campaign of recertification. We will add more later on and check it on the roadmap, what we're going to add. But there will be more of this stuff and of these campaign types and checks. But currently only that one we check. And how does it work? I will have a campaign, and I can say here edit. And I have to address the access group. And the access group is the group that sees the insights of the recertification campaign. In this case, I have administrator because I'm a member of that group, and I can start a new campaign iteration. Of course, also in the future, it will be that this will be scheduled, of course, but now I have to do it manually. And let's say, okay, I want to do a test run. I didn't configure anything yet, or I didn't start up anything, and say start new iteration. The iteration is started, and if I go to my end user side and I go, I have the option here, recertification insights. I can see it's currently calculating for the improperly assigned products. I can also see, because currently I can only see the calculated and the open. So you always see the new one. I can see all the ones if I want to, so I can say the closed ones like this. But in this case, I only want to see the new ones, so not the past details. But you can do it if you want to. In the future, there always or there will be more campaigns, so you can search on the campaign name. But in this case, it is run, so it's done. And if I open the details, you will see nothing is there, because currently I don't have any products that are requested multiple times by a single user, which is set on once, the switch that I was talking about earlier. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to back to my admin portal, and I will say on my product that I was showing last time, I'll show here multiple requests once, and I will save it. Now I go back to recertification campaigns, and I will run the campaign again to check if there are multiple requests and who has multiple requests when only one is selected. Now I will do a check on multiple products. Start a new iteration. It's starting again, and if I go back to the end user portal, to recertification and insights, it's calculating now. Again, I can also check if a calculation is failed or something like that. But in this case it's done, and now you see, okay, there are 3 requests. And now I can see that for a manager, the application that I just switched from multiple to once is requested three times. So this gives me an insight of a configuration, in this case a configuration change, but it's still assigned 3 times to a single person. What I can do with this is, of course, I can say, okay, Amir, I can go to Amir and say, which assignment do you want? Because you can only have one, and I will remove the assignments in the backend for administration. That's the current option. In the future, I think we're going to have some buttons here where you can do something with these requests, maybe return them or something like that, based on the knowledge that you have. The beauty of this is on the end user side. So currently I'm logging in as an administrator, but I can also say, okay, the manager group or the product owners can see these insights. So I can assign them inside the recertification campaign options as a group, and I can apply that group to this particular campaign, and they can see it inside the recertification insights. And they can see, okay, what's wrong for my people or in the configuration. And later on, things like a membership configuration. So it means that maybe on the time you requested a product, you had access to a group that could request a product, but you lost the group, the membership to apply the product. Things like that will also be shown here in the insights. So this will help you to be more in control during the whole life cycle of your company, instead of just a single moment where we request the product and the product is signed. In the future, we're also going to have some user-defined campaigns where you can say, okay, I want to recertify that a product is requested by a manager, granted by a manager, and try it again, or in a couple of, I don't know, days, years, something like that. So this is the first step of a really big feature, recertification for service automation, which is part of the governance license. Let me check if there are any questions. No, I don't think there are any questions currently. So let me go back. So this is the start of the new license, and we can enable it on training portals. So if you're interested, please contact your local supplier, and we can enable it on training portals and things like that. That's no issue. But for customers, it's not enough to have a license separately. So we want to make more stuff, but we're like your feedback. So that's the reason why we do a pilot program. So let's go to our next big feature. For this, I'm going to log in to provisioning. And if I go to business and to reconciliation, or you will see here a new option, reconciliation. And I can click on it. And I directly see a report, but let me a little bit explain what reconciliation is. Reconciliation is checking the HelloID state with your target application state. So that means is through the business rules, we assign an account or permissions or anything like that. And we know that we already assigned an account or already assigned a permission. And what we're doing is checking if your target application has that state, has the same state, but also what is more in your target application that we would like to manage, maybe on a different flow. I will talk about it a little bit later. But we want to increase the scope that we manage inside the landscape of your target applications. And our mission is that we manage all the accounts and all the permissions of your target application. So what we have here is a comparison of those two systems. So in this case of Active Directory, because currently we have only reconciliation on Active Directory on premise, with the HelloID state, and we see the differences between those two. And therefore we have a couple of scenarios that we can see here. But first off, I've imported data from Active Directory on premise, and I can see here I have 1100-ish accounts where almost 200 are enabled and 900 are disabled in Active Directory. So I've taken data from Active Directory and I've compared it with HelloID. And the first scenario that we see here is that means account unmanaged. It means that we're not managing this account in Active Directory with HelloID. So that means it's in your Active Directory, but we don't do anything currently with HelloID with it, based on provisioning business rules. So as an example, also admin accounts, default accounts, but also maybe accounts that are built up in the history or something, supplier accounts, service accounts, things like that. And what we want with this report is give you the information that this account is unmanaged, so it's untouched by HelloID provisioning, and maybe you want to clean it up. And that's also the first target or the first mission of this functionality, is to clean up your history. You build up some history because you created Active Directory accounts, but you forgot to clean it up or something like that. As an example, inside HelloID, if I go to target system and I go to our on-premise Active Directory, I have the option enabled, don't delete this account when revoking the entitlement. So that means that all the accounts will be left disabled. So that means that they will go unmanaged because the state in HelloID is gone, but the account is still there. Although it's disabled, but it's still there. But I have to clean it up sometime, right? Because you should not let it stay for forever there. And that's what reconciliation, of the first part of reconciliation helps you with. Clean up the history. And especially the account unmanaged will help you clean up the accounts, because in this case maybe this person is all long from the company. It's onboarded, everything's fine, but because I've selected that option in the target system, it is not cleaned up. But now I can see, okay, this has no state with a person in HelloID from provisioning. So maybe I have to clean the account up. And if I remove or delete this account and I will run the report again, it will be gone. So it will not be again in the report because it's not an Active Directory, right? And there are different scenarios, like I told us. So the first one is the account is unmanaged. We don't touch it. You can clean it up. If you see this record, you can also look at the rules that apply for this particular account or account access for this system, depending on the scenario. So for account unmanaged, it's where the configuration for this particular entitlement account and account access are configured in the rules, and you can click on this and go directly to the rules, because maybe there is an account, but your scoping for the business rules is not big enough to have that account included for the person. So maybe you have to change the business rules. That's also another option, of course. Another scenario is not account managed, but account missing. And this is a particular one because it says, okay, we have a person here, let's say Alberto Stegeman, and he should have an account in Active Directory, but it's missing. But if we look in HelloID, so let's go to the person and go to entitlements, let's switch off all the systems and let's go to on-premise Active Directory, account and account access. You will see, okay, we think it's still granted. So he has rights on the through the business rules on the account and account access in this case. He has the entitlements, but in Active Directory it's gone. It's not exist anymore. And that's a different scenario. And with this scenario, in the future you will force the account state of HelloID. So we say, okay, just create it in Active Directory, or just leave it like this, of course. But then you have the knowledge that the person isn't actually using an account because it doesn't exist. So that's a different scenario. Another one of the scenarios is account incorrectly has access. And that means is we manage the account because this person has the account entitlement through the business rules, but the person doesn't have the account access entitlement through the business rules, but is enabled in Active Directory. And of course, in the future, we will have suggestions or something like that. We'll talk about it a little bit later, where you can say, okay, disable this account in Active Directory because the person should not have access to that account. So this is a big security check. But again, here also it could be that the rules are not defined properly. So in this case, the person has no account access. You can see it because only the account entitlement is given for that person. And maybe I need to maybe add the account access rule to something like this rule, or maybe I have to enlarge the scope for that so that the person will be included. But it could also be that this person should not have an enabled account and we need to disable it. Another scenario is the account incorrectly has no access. So previously we stated, okay, the account is enabled, but we see in HelloID that you should not be enabled. This is the other way around. In the state of HelloID, you will have the account and the account access entitlement, but in Active Directory the account is disabled. So it should not be, and therefore there's a different scenario, and maybe we should enable the account. Again, here you can also normally see the business rules, but the account access is not configured in this case. But again, if we have suggestions, and that's in the next couple of releases, I think in the next 2 releases on the roadmap, we'll have suggestions here where you can say, okay, I want to enable the account, or I want to delete the account, or depending on the scenario, you will have different suggestions what you're going to do with these issues. And one of them, and that's where I think a lot of unmanageable things will be manageable, is if you have the account unmanaged, you can make exclusion for this account for X period. So let's say I don't want to see this account anymore for the next year. So in that case, you have a supplier account, and you can say, okay, I want to exclude it from reconciliation for the next year. And after that, I want to get it back, and I want to or exclude it again, or maybe delete it, and in that way, you're going to manage the accounts. And that's really important to have a bigger scope that you can manage inside your target application. Not only through the business rules, but also through a different flow. And that flow is exclusion. So that means we're going to check all the accounts that are not managed by HelloID provisioning. And if that is not the case, then we start a different flow where you can make exclusions, and you have to check it X period of time again to check if that account is still needed. And therefore you have a flow to manage those accounts. And that's mostly what this reconciliation is for. Currently we only do it on accounts and on Active Directory on-premise. But in the future we will do this, of course, also for permissions, and therefore we're also going to need some different UI and more bulk related stuff to do these actions if there are in the software. So the suggestions are up next. So you can remove the accounts and exclude accounts and things like that. So you can manage this properly. But in this version, it's still a report that you can create. Also, we have a scheduling option. So if you click on here, you can schedule this monthly. So that means you will get a report each month, and you can go through the list. And of course, when we have the suggestions and the flow, you can exclude it. So this list will be smaller and smaller, and hopefully you don't have any list, or the list is empty on almost every month. But of course, if an exclusion is ended, it will come back. And also you can select which Active Directory systems you want to do this on. It could be multiple Active Directory systems. So that's really important. One limitation currently is we can schedule it each month. It will be scheduled on the next month on the same day or around the same day as you enable it. And you can see which day it's going to run, but not the time. So we try to see what's the best time in your configuration to run it, so we don't impact other runs that you're currently doing or something like that. So the impact of this reconciliation is pretty big because we have to get a lot of data from Active Directory and compare a lot of state from HelloID with Active Directory, so it's a pretty heavy process. And we want to do that so that you don't impact your current run for the task and things like that, or configuration stuff. And you have the option to create a report once a month as well, manually. So if you run this, you will have a report and you have to wait a month currently to run it manually again. But that's a limitation for now, and maybe it will change in the future. But we have to check the impact on the system and how heavy everything is, especially when we're going to add permissions. It was a long talk, so let me check if there are any questions. No, I don't see any questions. So those were the features of HelloID. Again, this is part of the governance license. If you want to read a little bit more about the license, it's on the docs.helloid.com. And also you can see if the feature is included in the Hello or requires the HelloID license. On the roadmap, there's an icon for it in the features. And if you go over the icon, you will see a little text that says we require the governance module license. And again, if you are interested in these features and want to be part of a pilot, you can ask if you want to be part of a pilot. We will select a couple of customers to start with, and maybe it will grow during the pilot. And if you have any more questions about this, please contact your local supplier. They can help you and answer a lot of your questions. And I would like to thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe on our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon. And again, if we have multiple or more features available for recertification and reconciliation, so we're adding more features each month, and I think in a couple of months I will do a webinar specific for that topic, recertification or reconciliation, or both separately. So we have a little bit more time to discuss those, and I will go more in depth into how the cycle works, how the compare works, and a little bit with the presentation or something like that. So you have a little bit more context of how it works. But we will do that separately when we think, okay, this is a nice package to to show. So thank you for listening, and till the next time.